Hello guys, today we will take custom editor one step further. We will create our own scriptable objects in batches. Now, if you are making a game like this one, a 4x strategy, you will need lots of resources. The best way to keep these resources are scriptable objects. That means you'll have to create each one of them from the menu, enter a name, and choose associated sprites. Now here, I'll show you a method to serially create these resources by simply dragging the sprites into the inspector and entering their names as the sprites show up on the screen. So what I want is to turn these sprites into my scriptable object. For the moment, I can create resources using the Create Asset menu, then the new resource type, but instead I want to drag the sprites into the inspector to create them automatically. For that, I will need the scriptable object itself first, and I will recreate it for you. And this will be the scriptable object. We won't need these functions. All we need is a sprite info. Also include the Create Asset menu item so we can create the first resource type, but the rest will be automatic. I would like to define a namespace as well, so the context of the resource type will be specified later. Then we want the editor script for the resource type object. We will name it resource type editor. It will inherit from the editor, so we need to import Unity editor library. Also, we don't need a start or update. Then we will associate the editor script with resource type using the custom editor attribute. And first of all, the resource has a sprite, so why not use this sprite as a thumbnail in the project window? We have done something like this before. We will use the render static preview function. First, we cast our target into resource type. If the target has a sprite, then we'll assign the preview texture. And we use the asset previews get asset preview function. Then if the sprite has a texture, which I don't know why it wouldn't, then we will return this texture. Let's see if it works. We'll create a resource type and assign a sheep sprite. We can see in the project window. Now I would like to make the custom inspector. So let's override the onInspector GUI. We can keep the base on inspector, this way the fields of the resource will be available on the top. Next, we add our controls to the bottom. What we want is a label field where the users can drop the sprites to create more resource types. It can say something like drop sprites to create new resource types. And I'll use the help box style because it has a defining border, so user can identify where to drop the sprites. Now to check if we drop them in the right place, we need to the rectangle of this control. We get it using the GUI layout utilities getLastRect function. While the mouse is dragging, let's update the cursor. If the mouse dropped whatever it's dragging, then we also want to make sure the dropping happened inside the drop box. If that is the case, then we can iterate through the dropped items. We will check if each item is a sprite. Then we'll need a name for the resource. And we can do that in a pop-up window. To create a window in Unity, we'll need to use the editor window object. Let's create a class that's going to be one of these windows. Let's name it new resource window, and it will inherit from the editor window. It is going to contain an initializer function. This function will be called directly from the class, so it will be static. And it will create an instance of the window, and we will use a sprite as one of the arguments. So let's first create an instance. Editor window is also a scriptable object, so we will create an instance as a scriptable object. Then we will assign the sprite into the sprite variable. Then we will show this window as an auxiliary window. There are also other window types, but auxiliary window is probably most suitable in this case. Once it shows the window, then the onGUI function will start to be called. To identify which sprite is this window for, we will need to draw that texture. Now before that, we can set a size of this window so there is enough space for the texture. So we will set the min size field. And then we can draw the texture to the middle of the window. We enter the rectangle where we want the texture. To identify the texture, we will use the asset preview getAssetPreview function. Now we can summon this window in the inspector. We will call the static show function that we created and send the sprite that we dragged as the argument. Now let's try. In here, we have the box to drag more sprites. So let's drag a sprite and that pops up the new window. It seems a bit too large. We set the minimum size, but let's set the max size as well. Now we can have a label field and it will say enter the name to the resource. And I'll use the word wrap label style, but we don't have to enter in style. This label field is going to draw under the texture, so we need to make sure that we have some space before the label field is declared. And let's try. There you go. And next, we need to store the name. Let's store the name as a string and define it as an empty string to begin with. If we don't define it, it will cause an error. Then we will create a text field which takes from the object name and writes to the object name itself. Let's try. Then we will enter the name and press enter. So we need to include what happens if you press enter. Let's start with a function to check if the entered name is valid first. So we'll create an isValidFileName function, which will take a string. And to do that, I'll use the path library. First, I need to import it, which is in system.io. So let's do that. Then we check if any of the characters in the file name is any of the invalid file name characters from the path library. If we find any of those characters, then the index will return a value bigger than 0. And what we want is that to equal to -1, so which means that they don't exist in the string. Also, we want to make sure the file name is not empty, which we can check using the strings isNull or empty function. If the object name is a valid file name, and we have pressed the enter key, then we'll create a new resource type asset. So let's create an instance of the resource type. Then change its sprite to the given sprite. Then the name will be object name. Next, we will save this into the assets at a given path. Okay, so it should probably create this asset into the same folder as the sprites. Now to do that, we need to get the path of the sprite, but not the full path, just the folder path. And to do that, I'll create a new function because I don't know if there's an available utility. I'll create a new function that will take the path of the folder of a given full path. So let's name it getDirectoryPath. It will return a substring of the path until the last forward or backward slash character. This function requires a list of characters. These have to be characters which are identified by single quotations. If you use double quotation, it is a string. The reason we use double slash is that the slash is usually the key identifier for non-letter characters such as new line or tab. To explicitly imply slash, we need the double slash. Then we add the new path. This will be made of directory. And then the file name, which is the object name. And then we add the .asset extension. And finally, we save assets. And we can also close this window since we are done with it now. Let's try. Let's enter cotton. Enter the name, and here we go. Now we have created a resource just from the sprite. There are some improvements we can make on this. For example, we can make sure the text field gets the focus as the window opens, so we don't need to click on the text field before starting to type. To do that, we need to set a name to the text field control using the GUI.setNextControlName function. Let's name it name field. And then we set the focus of the window to the name field. And we want to focus this window as well. By mistake, I named the label, not the text field. Let's correct this. And let's try. There you go. Let's try what happens if I drag two sprites. Okay, the windows are flashing because they're trying to focus at the same time. So let's fix this. We fix this so that if a new resource window is already focused, it doesn't try to focus itself. As I select several sprites and drag into an existing resource types inspector panel, windows will pop up. Now I can enter the name of the resource and it will create an instance, or I can skip by closing the window. Finally, I want to thank GR Design for supporting this video. They offer to design the logo for the game, and I will share their work once it's complete. You can find the link to the GR Design website in the description below. I hope this was useful, and please subscribe so you won't miss the next video.